Everyone wants financial prosperity, a life of abundance, waking up without anxiety about bills, falling asleep in peace, knowing money is working in your favor, feeling like you're building something solid for your future. But most people keep chasing magic formulas in miracle investments, get rich in 30 days schemes, and while they hunt for shortcuts, they ignore the basics. Because the real problem isn't a lack of information about money, the real problem is a lack of financial discipline. Most people already know what they should do. They've known for years, they just don't do it. And that's exactly where the difference lives, between the person who complains about their finances and the person who actually prospers. Napoleon Hill studied more than 500 wealthy individuals over decades and reached a simple conclusion. Wealth is the result of small daily habits practiced with persistence, not luck, not inheritance, not perfect timing. Repeated choices that shape your character and your destiny. And today I'm going to show you 8 simple habits almost nobody truly practices when it comes to money. They look too obvious to be powerful. Yet these boring habits have built fortunes. And if you apply even half of what you'll hear in this video, your financial reality can start shifting within weeks. Not by magic, but by momentum. So stay with me. And if this message already hits home, drop this in the comments right now. I practice wealth principles daily. Because the moment you stop chasing shortcuts and start practicing, you build discipline, you build character, and you change your life in the silence of daily actions. And stay until the end, because the last habit is the one that magnetizes all the others into real abundance. Let's begin with Habit 1, the foundation of prosperity. Habit 1. Wake up before the world. The intentional morning of the wealthy. Hill noticed something fascinating. The people who built serious wealth protected their mornings, not by accident, not because they had to, but because they chose to. The early hours weren't wasted time, they were an investment. Quiet time creates clarity, and clarity creates better financial decisions. When you wake up before the world wakes up, you gain an advantage. Space to think without interruption, time to plan before urgency steals your focus, and the power to become strategic instead of reactive. First with your time, and then with your money. Choose a wake-up time and keep it consistent, even on weekends. Use your first hour for 3 things. Review your financial goals, learn one small thing about money, and plan the actions you'll take today. Do that for a few weeks and your mind starts waking up already searching for solutions, ideas, and opportunities. Comment. I start my day with purpose and clarity. Because the one who masters the morning masters the day, and the one who masters the day builds consistent wealth. Now listen closely, because this is where most people sabotage everything. Waking up early gives you clarity, yes. But clarity without control turns into frustration. Because there's no point in building a focused mind in the morning if throughout the day your money quietly bleeds out through tiny leaks you don't even notice. So here's the question that decides whether your new clarity becomes real wealth or stays as a motivational moment. What are you actually doing with every dollar that passes through your hands? Most people don't have a money problem. They have a visibility problem. They don't truly know where their money goes, so they can't correct the pattern, and that's why Habit 2 is non-negotiable. Habit 2, track every dollar, the awareness that multiplies wealth. You don't need a fancy app. You don't need a perfect spreadsheet. You don't need a personal accountant. You need awareness, every dollar in, every dollar out, because you cannot improve what you refuse to measure. The reason people stay stuck is because they underestimate small expenses. The coffee, the snack, the subscription you forgot about, the just this once spending that happens 5 times a week. It feels harmless. Until you do the math. A small daily purchase adds up into a monthly drain. A monthly drain becomes an annual loss. And annual losses become a lifestyle you can't escape. Money doesn't usually disappear in one dramatic moment. It disappears in quiet habits, repeated without attention. So make it simple. The moment you spend, you write it down. The moment you receive, you write it down. Notes app, a small notebook, 1 line per transaction. No obsession, just awareness. And something powerful happens when you start tracking. Patterns reveal themselves. You'll see where your money leaks. You'll notice what triggers impulse spending. You'll realize how often you buy convenience instead of building freedom. And once you can see the pattern, you can change it. Because wealth isn't only about earning more, it's about keeping more, with intention. So comment this below. I know where every dollar goes. Say it like a decision, because the person who controls small expenses builds a strong foundation, and the person with financial awareness can multiply real wealth. Now, before we move on, understand this. Awareness alone isn't enough. If you can see where your money is going, the next step is deciding where it should go. Because knowing you spend poorly doesn't change your life until you redirect that money toward your future. And that leads to habit 3, the golden rule that has built fortunes for centuries. If you skip this, nothing after it will last. But quick pause. If you're serious about rewiring your money habits and building real prosperity, subscribe to Wealth Rewired right now. We post mindset and wealth principles that turn knowledge into action and action into results. Hit subscribe and stay connected. Here comes the habit that changes everything, because it flips the entire order of your financial life. Most people live like this. Money comes in, bills get paid, life happens, cravings appear, and whatever is left is supposed to become savings. But nothing is left. And then they conclude, I can't build wealth. No, the system was designed to fail from the beginning. Habit 3. Pay yourself first. The principle that builds assets. This is not a slogan. It's a law of wealth. The moment money enters your hands, before you pay anyone else, you pay your future. You don't wait to see what's left. You decide what stays, because if your future is optional, it will always be postponed. So start simple. Set aside at least 10% the moment you get paid. That money is not for bills, not for emergencies, not for random desires. It's for building assets, your financial foundation. At first, 10% can feel small, but small is not the point. The point is identity. You are training your brain to believe, my future is a priority. And when the brain receives that message repeatedly, behavior adjusts. You begin to live on 90% automatically, and you stop letting lifestyle inflation swallow your progress. Open a separate account for this. Make it inconvenient to access. Let it accumulate. Let it grow. Think of it like planting seeds you refuse to dig up. Because the person who keeps touching their seed money is always starting over. And yes, there will be discomfort. Paying yourself first will force you to cut what's unnecessary. It will force you to become more strategic with the remaining 90%. That discomfort is not punishment, it's training. Discipline is not deprivation, it's direction. There's a verse in Proverbs that captures this energy. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Not the plans of the lucky, not the plans of the impulsive, the plans of the diligent. So write this in the comments. I pay myself first, always, because the one who prioritizes their future builds freedom, and the one who sacrifices the future for the present stays trapped in the same cycle. Now here's the next level, and it's crucial. Saving is powerful, but saving alone is not enough. There's something even more dangerous than spending everything. It's letting saved money sit still while time and inflation silently eat it. If money doesn't move, it doesn't multiply. So if you've started paying yourself first, the next habit decides whether your saved money stays safe or becomes truly productive. Because investing isn't for experts. Investing is for anyone who wants money working while they sleep. And in habit 4, I'll show you how consistency turns small deposits into serious wealth through the force most people underestimate, compound growth. Comment: I build wealth on purpose, because purpose turns saving into assets, and assets turn effort into independence. Now we step into the habit that separates people who save from people who actually get rich, because saving is protection, but investing is expansion. If you pay yourself first and your money just sits there, you're doing the hard part without receiving the reward. Time will still pass, and inflation will still erode purchasing power. That's why the wealthy don't just store money, they put money to work. Habit 4. Invest consistently. The compounding force that builds fortunes. Here's what most people get wrong. They think investing requires a lot of money. It doesn't. It requires a lot of consistency. A small amount invested regularly can outperform a large amount invested occasionally, because compounding doesn't reward intensity. It rewards time. Your money begins to earn, and then what it earns starts earning too. That's how ordinary deposits turn into extraordinary outcomes. And the wealthy understand this. You don't need to predict the market to build wealth. You need to stay in the market long enough for time to do its job. Start with what you can, even if it's $25, $50, $100 a month. The amount is not the breakthrough. The habit is. Choose something simple and boring because boring is reliable. A broad index fund, a retirement account, a conservative long-term option you can commit to without panic. The greatest enemy of investing isn't lack of money. It's inconsistency driven by emotion. People invest when they feel confident, stop when they feel fear, then restart when they feel regret. That loop keeps them poor, so make it automatic. Set up an auto transfer on payday so a portion goes straight into your investment before you even see it. Your future gets paid in the background while your present continues living. This removes temptation, removes negotiation, and protects your discipline. And here's the rule. Don't steal from your future. Don't pull the money out early because you got impatient. Don't cash out because you got nervous. Time is the engine. You don't stop the engine to check if you're moving. 1 year of consistency changes your confidence. 5 years builds a real base. 10 years becomes assets. 20 years becomes freedom. Comment: my money works for me every day, because the one who respects compounding respects time, and the one who respects time builds wealth faster than the one who chases shortcuts. Now pay attention, because if you stop here, you risk turning investing into gambling. Investing without education becomes guessing. Money without understanding becomes unnecessary risk. The next habit is what protects everything you're building. Your savings, your investments, your decisions, your future. And it's not complicated. It's not about being a finance genius. It's about feeding your mind daily with the kind of knowledge that rewires your choices. So don't skip habit 5. This one turns random effort into strategy. Comment: I choose long-term wealth, because short-term thinking drains accounts, but long-term thinking builds legacies. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. A lot of people don't lose money because they're unlucky. They lose money because they're uninformed and emotionally reactive. They invest in what they don't understand. They follow hype. They trust the loudest voice. They panic at the worst moment. And then they say, investing is risky. No, ignorance is risky. That's why habit 5 is what protects your wealth. Habit 5. Study money every day. Knowledge that becomes millions. This is not about reading complicated charts for hours. It's about daily exposure to principles that rewire your financial brain. 10 pages a day. That's it. 10 pages about money, investing, business, or the psychology of wealth. 10 pages feels small, but it compounds the same way investing does. In a month, you've read hundreds of pages. In a year, you've absorbed dozens of books worth of wisdom. And after enough repetition, you stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an owner. Because when you learn daily, your fear decreases. Your confidence increases. Your decisions get cleaner. You recognize scams faster. You notice opportunities sooner. You stop being manipulated by headlines and emotions. Napoleon Hill said, "Knowledge becomes power only when organized into a plan and directed toward a clear goal." So don't just read to feel inspired, read to act. Here's a simple system. Take 15 minutes a day, morning, lunch break, or before sleep. Read slowly. Highlight one idea, write one action, then apply it this week, one tiny move. That's how information becomes transformation. And you don't need advanced finance to start. You can begin with basic personal finance, books about habits, biographies of builders, lessons on how money behavior works. The goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to build wisdom that pays you back. There's another proverb that fits perfectly here. Wisdom is more precious than gold, because gold can be lost, but wisdom can rebuild gold again and again. So comment, I study wealth daily. Because the person who invests in financial education becomes dangerous in the best way. Hard to fool, hard to derail, hard to break. Now there's a catch. Even if you study, even if you invest, even if you pay yourself first, your environment can still pull you back into scarcity. If you stay surrounded by people who mock discipline, shame ambition, and normalize debt, your progress will feel lonely, and loneliness makes people quit. That's why habit 6 is a turning point. It's not just about money. It's about who you become when you choose your circle on purpose. Comment, I protect my mindset. Because mindset is the gatekeeper of every financial habit. You can have a plan, you can have a budget, you can even have investments, but if your daily environment is soaked in scarcity, your mind will constantly fight your progress. Because the truth is simple. People don't only share opinions, people share energy, expectations, and identity. And that's why habit 6 is not motivation, it's protection. Habit 6. Surround yourself with abundance thinking, relationships that multiply results. You become a reflection of what you repeatedly tolerate, and financially, you tend to drift toward the mindset of the people you spend the most time with. If you're always around people who complain about money, shame wealthy people, call discipline obsession, and treat debt like normal, that mindset becomes your default. Not because you're weak, because humans adapt to belong. Napoleon Hill called the wealthy person's secret weapon the mastermind, a circle of people who think bigger, grow together, share ideas, and push each other upward. Not a group that competes with jealousy, but a group that multiplies clarity and opportunity. Think about it. When you're around builders, you start talking about solutions. When you're around investors, you start noticing patterns. When you're around disciplined people, you stop romanticizing impulse. Your standards rise without you forcing it, and you don't need to know millionaires in real life to do this. You can build your circle in layers, communities online focused on wealth habits, study groups, mentors, podcasts and books that shape your inner dialogue, friends who want growth, not gossip. Here's the key. You don't have to disrespect anyone to upgrade your environment. You can love people and still refuse their mindset. You don't need to announce it. You don't need drama. You simply choose where your time, attention, and influence will go. And also, become the kind of person you're trying to find. Share what you learn. Encourage someone who's starting. Celebrate other people's wins without envy. When you can clap for someone else's success, you signal to your mind that success is safe and available. Because abundance isn't only money. Abundance is believing there's more than enough. More ideas, more opportunities, more growth, more room for you to win. Comment. I choose an abundance circle because the person who chooses their circle chooses their future. Now, before we go to habit 7, stop and listen carefully. Even with the right circle, even with education, even with investing, there's one thing that can still destroy everything. Emotional spending. If your emotions control your money decisions, you can earn more and still stay broke. You can invest well and still sabotage it. You can build a plan and still blow it up in one impulsive weekend. Habit 7 is the discipline that makes all the other habits sustainable. And it's not about being miserable, it's about becoming powerful. Comment. I lead my money with discipline, because discipline is the bridge between intention and wealth. This is the habit that feels like a sacrifice at first, but becomes freedom later. Because most people don't go broke from one big mistake. They go broke from 1,000 small yes decisions, tiny impulsive purchases that feel harmless in the moment and expensive in the long run. And the wealthy? They train themselves to say no now so they can say yes forever. Habit 7. Master delayed gratification, self-control that builds assets. Napoleon Hill observed that high earners weren't automatically wealthy. The wealthy were the ones who could control their impulses, the ones who didn't let temporary emotions decide permanent outcomes. We live in the era of instant everything. One-click shopping, same-day delivery, buy now, pay later. Limited time offers designed to hijack your brain. You're constantly being trained to feel urgency, to feel entitled, to feel like you deserve pleasure right now, even if your future pays the price. So here's a simple rule that can save you thousands. Before any purchase over a set amount, $50, $100, whatever fits your reality, wait 24 hours. That's it. Just one day. If after 24 hours it still aligns with your goals and fits your budget, you decide with clarity. But most of the time, the craving disappears because it was never a need, it was a mood. Delayed gratification is not about being cheap. It's about choosing what matters. You're not denying yourself joy. You're upgrading your joy from the dopamine of buying to the dopamine of building, from the thrill of a package arriving to the thrill of watching your investments grow, from short-lived pleasure to long-term peace. Every time you resist an impulse and redirect that money toward assets, you're telling your identity, I am a builder. And the more you repeat it, the more natural it becomes. There's a powerful principle in Psalms that fits here. Be still and know. Stillness isn't weakness. Stillness is control. When you pause before you act, you reclaim your power. Impulse is slavery. Pause is freedom. So, comment. I control my financial impulses, because the person who can delay gratification can delay regret. And the person who delays regret builds a life that doesn't feel like survival. Now, if you've made it this far, you've built a strong structure. Intentional mornings, awareness of spending, paying yourself first, consistent investing, daily financial learning, an abundance environment, emotional control. But there's one final piece, an invisible foundation that either amplifies all of this or secretly cancels it. Because you can have perfect habits and still sabotage yourself with the words you repeat, the story you tell, and the identity you accept. Habit 8 is not about fantasy. It's about mental programming. It's about aligning your inner world with the wealth you're building in the outer world, so opportunities don't bounce off you and discipline doesn't feel like a fight. Comment. I'm becoming financially unstoppable because this next habit ties everything together. This is the habit that people either respect deeply or dismiss too quickly because it's invisible. No one claps for it. No one sees it on your bank statement, but it quietly shapes the way you move, the risks you take, the opportunities you notice, and the decisions you make when nobody is watching. Habit 8. Declare abundance daily, the mental programming of wealth. Napoleon Hill dedicated an entire section of his work to autosuggestion, repeated thoughts infused with emotion that sink into the subconscious and reshape behavior. Not as wishful thinking, but as intentional conditioning. Because your subconscious is always listening, and it will build your life around the identity you repeat. If your inner voice constantly says, money is hard, I'll never get ahead, rich people are different, I'm not lucky, your actions will quietly match that story. You'll hesitate, you'll play small, you'll sabotage progress the moment it starts working. So you do the opposite. Every morning, for 5 to 10 minutes, you speak your financial goals as if they are already becoming real, because in a sense, they are. The moment you commit with discipline, the process is real even before the numbers appear. Say it out loud, with calm conviction, I am becoming financially free. I make wise decisions with money. My income expands as my value expands. My wealth grows through discipline and purpose. I attract opportunities because I'm prepared to act. This isn't empty positivity, it's alignment. It trains your brain to search for evidence, resources, connections, and choices that match what you declared. When your mind expects abundance, it becomes sharper, more courageous, and more consistent. And this is where faith and wisdom connect. Proverbs says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Your inner world becomes your outer world because you move according to what you believe is possible. But here's the key. Declarations without action are fantasy. Action without declarations can feel like a battle. When you combine both, something powerful happens. Your habits stop feeling like punishment. They start feeling like identity. And identity creates momentum. Now look at what you have. Wake up intentionally. Track your money. Pay yourself first. Invest consistently. Study daily. Choose an abundance circle. Master delayed gratification. Declare abundance with conviction. None of these habits are complicated. None require you to be rich to start. They require you to be consistent. And that's why they work. Because while most people chase secret hacks, you'll build wealth the way it's actually built, brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. So here's your challenge. Choose one habit. Start today. Not Monday, not next month, today. Do it for 1 week with full commitment, then add another. In 3 months, your financial life can look unrecognizable, not because of luck, but because of discipline. Now tell me in the comments, which habit are you already practicing? Which one will you start now? And if you want more content like this, mindset, discipline, and wealth principles you can actually apply, subscribe to Wealth Rewired and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Comment, I choose wealth with consistency. And remember, the loudest progress is often silent. I'll see you in the next one.